Stranger Things, the first Shadow stage play, is it canon? Do you have to see it to understand what happens in Stranger Things 5? Like, what is it all about?
Stay tuned for the answer to these questions and more, dear Alt+SHIFT nerds. Strap in as we dive and delve into the delicious details of what we know about Stranger Things, the first Shadow stage play.
Spoiler warning, my peeps. Abandon all hope. Those who wish not to be spoiled in venturing beyond this point. For really reals, you've been totally warned.
We were in the middle of breaking season 4 with our writers. We started going, okay, well, there's definitely more story to tell here.
Stranger Things, the first Shadow, is a prequel.
We wanted to tell an original story set in the Stranger Things universe.
The First Shadow, for those of you who aren't aware, is a stage play prequel to the hit Netflix streaming series Stranger Things. It takes place in 1959 when the Creel family moved to the town of Hawkins, Indiana, as seen in Stranger Things Season 4. It follows the origin story of the Stranger Things main antagonist, Henry Creel, explaining more about him and the circumstances that heavily shape events to unfold in the series. It is 100% canon, as the creators, the Duffer brothers, Matt and Ross, have directly stated that it is. It is co-written by them, along with Kate Treffery, who is a writer they have worked with on the ever-popular main series. She's penned episodes of Stranger Things, and she's no stranger to the things going on in the show. The Duffers say that the writing of the play is in great hands with Kate.
Let me jump in before he gets carried away with any more corny jokes. While the stage play is canon, it is important to note that there may be some inconsistencies connecting it with the events to unfold later. These aren't intentional, meaning that the writers aren't slipping up or being lazy. There apparently were communication disconnects or mistakes in the main series in regards to props, and like a date that appears on a newspaper with articles about the Creel House murders and the stories revolving around that, which were not intended in the scripts and story as was conceived during early production. Geez, GL, the script, that was a tough read. It's such a long run-on sentence, mi boyo.
Okay, I'll work on it. Moving on.
Anyways, there were some unintentional discrepancies in the main show regarding the props department. This isn't to say these are plot holes per se, but simply a byproduct of how movies and episodic series are made. There can be so many individuals involved in every layer of creating the final release of a property that something slipped between the cracks. It's the nature of the beast, in other words. At least they are acknowledging it. For example, in the main series of Stranger Things 4, it was shown that after the Creel murders, Victor Creel was arrested and blamed for the deaths of his family, while the son Henry was the only other to survive of the 4, ending up in a coma for months thereafter. Publicly, he was stated to have died, while in fact, he was scooped up by Dr. Brenner to become part of the Montauk experiments with MK Ultra and Project Indigo.
And in the stage play, The First Shadow, Henry Creel awoke from his coma and attended school at Hawkins High prior to being taken in by Dr. Brenner for the super-secret experiments. Henry Creel's age is up for debate as well, since he goes to Hawkins High briefly after his coma in the stage play. Even though Henry's age wasn't directly stated in the main Stranger Things series, some fans watching the stage play are saying that Henry was too young to attend high school as presented in the series. This mislabeled dates on the newspaper props in Season 4 of Stranger Things, as previously mentioned, hasn't helped in resolving this inconsistency either. It doesn't seem to impact the story too much, though there are some complaining about the canonicity due to the stage play's casting of Henry Creel and the fact Henry went to Hawkins High School at all in The First Shadow. Though Henry goes to Hawkins High, he's a freshman, whereas the other characters familiar to fans from the series are seniors at that point in the story, so it's not like Henry goes from being 11 to 13, suddenly jumps to being a high school senior. If there are any age discrepancies at all, it is a very minor one, and it has to do with the props from Season 4. Also, with all the story that they needed to pack into Season 4 going into 5, they kind of narrowed down just the highlights. What was important for Season 4 about Henry's past, even though there was more to it.
I totally understand. Makes sense, and it's not like the writing on things today, like with the Acolyte, or as you call it, Doctor Who. I should shush, though. Wouldn't want to send you into Strokey Fits again.
And yeah, we don't want to. No. I'm not talking about Doctor Who. No. Anyway, Stranger Things creators say that these seeming inconsistencies won't be an issue, and the Duffer Brothers will most likely course correct in Season 5 of Stranger Things, as there will be a type of recap. It might not be a recap per se. It may more so do its own explaining of the events in First Shadow. So, no, you're not required to travel to London or one of the few states a U.S. showing of the First Shadow takes place in. The casting call has been sent for a Broadway production of the First Shadow to take place in New York in 2025.
Oh, me again. It is unclear whether or not it'll be shown on Netflix prior to Season 5, though if Netflix is smart, it'll totally do that. The creators, the Duffer Brothers, have actually stated that, it won't be a requirement to watch the play before Season 5 lands in 2026. No one will be missing out on anything by not watching The First Shadow. Live on stage, baby! Yeah!
Sounds like somebody's having fun making these videos.
And... What? You're not? The whole point is the fun we have doing these videos and talking all about our fave shows and such. You knows? Huh? Do ya?
Yes. I'm having fun.
Do ya?
I promise. Yes.
Huh?
I promise.
You're not the only weirdo around here, you knows.
Having all the fun and getting back to the topic at hand. But yeah, Season 5 of Stranger Things is said to be self-contained. It'll do all the explaining it needs to do for newcomers and fans alike to understand what we'll be presented with as the series concludes in its 5th and final season. So now what we'll discuss is the characters that'll be appearing in the play and what the play is actually about, the story behind it.
We are in Hawkins in 1959. We have Henry with young Joyce, young Hopper, and young Bob.
The main thrust of the story is Patty and her little budding romance with Henry.
In like every Stranger Things story, there's a new, really important character, which in this case is Patty Newby.
And everyone's trying to figure out their lives in high school.
In Stranger Things, the First Shadow stage play, we are reintroduced to young versions of familiar faces from the main series, while being greeted by new characters as well. Characters in the play involve a young Joyce Maldonado, a young Joyce Byers, who is dating Lonnie Byers at this point in the story, which, as we know later on, becomes the father of Will and Jonathan. James Jim Hopper Jr. is the son of Chief Hopper, who will also be in the stage play story. Karen Childress, the future Karen Wheeler. Ted Wheeler is her boyfriend during the events of this play. Alan Munson is involved. Dustin's parents, Lucas and Erica's parents, Bob Newby, as well as his father and sister, Patty Newby. Patty Newby, as the Duffers just stated, will be an important character as far as the unraveling plot threads with Henry Creel. Martin Brenner will also be there. His father, I'm not sure if he's mentioned or is actually in it. There are scenes from the Philadelphia experiment from what I've seen in the play, which that we'll talk about that coming up very shortly. Henry Creel's family, of course, among others. All of these will be in the stage play.
As for the story of the play, I can totally see how it's not necessary to see this story. Honestly, it seems to me this play expands on characters that fans have come to love, exploring them when they're younger. It reveals their teenage social dynamics with each other and their environment. Growing up in Hawkins, Indiana, the play gives audiences more Bob Newby and elaborates on his ties with Joyce and Hopper.
Yeah, it seems to be a retelling of what was offered in Stranger Things 4 surrounding the Creel family and Henry. It gives more of a backstory to Henry's
turn to dark side.
That's one way of putting it, and I agree. It fills in gaps, or creates gaps to be filled in with details that wasn't mentioned in Stranger Things 4. It kind of presents Henry as more of a sympathetic villain, showing what motivations he had for his Breaking Bad.
Yeah, in Stranger Things 4, he is shown as a complete bastard, totally from the get-go. He's killing animals to satisfy curiosities of his murder boner. Then, when not wanting to visit the doctor, he totally goes full-on murdergasm.
Yeah, and he tortures his family with dark and demonic visions. Mostly from some of their past and some of their fears too.
Oh, he was mainly shown to be evil, Fashizio.
Now, don't get us wrong. We're not saying the stage play is pointless. It just seems to be well performed, and
Quite a few appear to like it. I've read about some good reviews and not so good ones, though overall the actors do a stellar job. It does give peeps more jobs too. From the few somewhat negative reviews, it's not quite negative.
right.
It's like more about the why of the story itself, since it's a retread just with more details.
Yeah.
I'm personally glad it exists. I think it shows the passion of the Duffer Brothers with their creation.
Agreed.
If I had a project like this, I'd be all about it. Of course, I'd die of embarrassment and overwhelm from all the attention.
Yeah.
Well, with the right peeps working with me behind the scenes, like these Duffers seem to have, I know it'd probably not be so bad. You knows?
Yep. So, in review, the stage play focused on Henry Creel, who awakes from his coma and goes to school briefly before Dr. Brenner snatches him up and hides him at Hawkins' lab. Dr. Brenner knew the Creel family from when they lived near one another in Nevada, where Martin Brenner's father told Martin about the SS Eldridge's ship experiment. It was essentially the Philadelphia experiment to make the ship go invisible, but send it to another dimension instead. They call it Dimension X in the Stranger Things universe, is where the ship went to.
Dimension X is the hell world kind of place Henry was banished to in Stranger Things 4.
Exactly. That reddish, barren hellscape with the red lightning. Now that's not the Upside Down. The stage play doesn't go into the full story of what happened to Henry once he went there, but the Stranger Things VR game does, and we'll explain and explore more about that in another video. Henry does make contact with Dimension X and know of it in the stage play via Brenner, and what the first shadow presents in its expanded narrative.
Okay, alrighty-o, got it.
Plus, in the play, we get more Bob Newby and Searly dynamics between Joyce and Hopper, as well as Joyce and Lonnie, who wasn't quite a great father in the main series. We'll get an idea of what brought Ted and Karen Wheeler together. We'll get to see what drew Henry and Patty Newby together, learn about her adoption and of her biological mother due to the more sympathetic nature of Henry Creel in this story. We'll know why she wasn't around in the main series, too. So there was definitely enough present in the play to warrant its story for fans of the show, especially those who want more Bob Newby.
Oh, it was so sad for really real.
Definitely.
It was just so sad when he died.
Definitely.
And how he died.
Definitely one of the sadder deaths in the show. I won't argue with that. But that's all we have for the first Shadow stage play. We got more Stranger Things videos coming your way, along with some gaming vids, original songs, and weird, hilarious videos you don't want to miss.
No.
You don't.
No, you don't.
Don't want to miss it.
You don't want to miss out. Better come back and visit with us, or we'll haunt you. I will totally haunt the hell out of you. So help me, I will.
I want to see some interesting characters. I want to see some cool effects. I want to see some interesting plots and mystery.
I'm very excited to see Hawkins just in before the 80s.
It was incredible.
Yeah. Absolutely mind-blowing.
Like, I don't know how they did some of the things that they actually did.
So this should be a great experience for us. A little bit nervous to see what happens. I've never been to like previews of a show before, but yeah, very excited.
I feel like we just stepped out of a completely different world and went on a roller coaster.
The special effects are literally mental, so it's quite overwhelming.
The tick was the coolest thing I've seen in London. Like, it was so.
Okay, that video is done.
Let it be.
I'll get the flashlights, and the quartz lantern thingamajig. Oh, and we'll need the yo-yo penny. And what else?
The night vision goggles. That's what you like and prefer. And you're forgetting never go anywhere without a towel. And spoons. We cannot forget the spoons.